Alright, when we are adding fractions that are unlike, what that means is they do not have a common denominator. Anytime you add and subtract fractions, we need a common denominator. So we're going to work on first finding the common denominator and then adding the fractions. So we have 3/5 plus 4/10. Here's our denominator. One is a 5, one is a 10. We want that to be the same number, and we want it to be the smallest number that both a 5 and a 10 fit into. So one method you can use for finding that is to focus on the bigger denominator, 10. So my first question is, does 5, the other denominator, fit into 10? And because it does, that means that 10 will be our common denominator. So because we're going to use 10, this 4 over 10, we don't have to change that one because we're using 10 as a common denominator. Now over here, we have to use multiplication to get this 5 up to a 10. So we can multiply it by 2. 5 times 2 is 10. However, anything you multiply the denominator by, you also have to multiply the numerator by. So we end up with 6 over 10 plus 4 over 10. And now we're adding like fractions. They have a common denominator. So we keep our common denominator of 10. We just add the numerators. 6 plus 4 is 10. And then we ask ourselves, well, can you reduce a 10 over 10? And you can. It equals 1. So our final answer here is 1. Alright, next example, when you have your mixed numbers, we do want to go ahead and turn these into improper fractions. So we start with the denominator, work our way around. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So we have 9 over 4, plus, work our way around, 6 times 6 is 36. 36 plus 5 is 41. And keep your denominator. Alright, so common denominator between 4 and 6. So again, I say start looking at the bigger denominator and say, does 4 fit into 6? Because it does not, let's look at our multiples of 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Well, I know that 6 fits into 12 because it's a multiple of 6. So then ask yourself, does 4 also fit into 12? And because it does, 12 is going to be our least common denominator. So how do we get the 4 up to a 12? We can multiply that by 3, top and bottom multiplied by 3, so we end up with 27 over 12, plus, now 41 over 6, we have to multiply our 6 by 2, and the top by 2 to get that 6 up to a 12. We get 82 over 12. Now that we have like fractions, we keep our common denominator, and then we do 27 plus 82, and we get, what is that, 109? And then we say, does 109 over 12 reduce? And because we don't have any common factors, that is our final answer. So I realize I have two addition problems right here. If one of them was subtraction, you would still follow the same process, get your common denominator, and then you would subtract the numerators left to right. So adding and subtracting needs a common denominator before you can do the addition or subtraction.